Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about MLW Fusion from January the 13th, 2021. This was a Salina de la Renta produced show. So the show is basically about her and Promociones Dorado, and they did some interesting stuff. So, let's talk about it. So the first match was Low Key versus some guy named Bun Heavy. It doesn't matter because Low Key knocked him out by running across the ring and clotheslining him. Low Key is a very small man, but we've established that Low Key can knock out people. And Bun Heavy looks like he wasn't twice the size of Low Key, probably a Low Key and a half, but he still got knocked out. So whatever. In the post-match promo, Low Key talked about he knows how to satisfy Salina more than anybody in MLW, which I laughed at because I know how that sounded. And then he said that the fight with King Mo isn't over and that he's gonna have to handle that eventually. So then we get Konan was supposed to show up, and they said, "Well, what happened to Konan? What happened to Konan?" And then Salina appears and basically says that she sicked Mil Muertes on Konan. She didn't say it in those words, but she basically showed a video where she was in her witch gear, and she was talking about Mil Muertes is going to make everybody who crossed her pay, and that she sicked Mil Muertes onto Konan. So Konan is dead in MLW, I guess. Mads Kruger was impressed by Hammerstone, but he saw fear in his eyes and wants a rematch and wants Hammerstone to come to the Contra compound to fight him. And later on, Hammerstone cuts a pretty good babyface promo. He says that he was afraid, but he wasn't afraid of Kruger. He was afraid of what he might do. He was afraid of, not reaching up to his full potential, not becoming the world champion. But he's not afraid of Mads Kruger, and if he wants him to come to the Contra compound, he'll do it. But it was a lot more to it than that. But it was a pretty decent babyface promo. Were they really doing okay with this Hammerstone thing with him being a babyface? He comes across as being very relatable, but he's also big and jacked. But he also, that saying that I'm afraid of never reaching my full potential. And then at the same time, also afraid of if he actually does, that he may get disqualified, that he may, get fined or something like that if he rips like Mads Kruger apart. I like that he played that dynamic there like that, because it was really interesting that, like, again, he's putting himself in a Superman position where, he's constantly holding back. But, he's afraid of his own strength, of his own anger, of his own wrath, because he may do something horrible to Mads Kruger, but now that he wants to. Because, so if Mads Kruger wants Hammerstone to come to the compound, he'll come. It doesn't. So it does. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm kind of liking Hammerstone. It took a while for me to get there, but he's getting over with me. And I thought he was kind of bland as a heel. He was just kind of bland body guy heel, where he was just basically a big muscly guy. But as a babyface, he seems to have an idea of where to go, of what to say and what to do. So I like Hammerstone as a babyface. So then we get Mil Muertes, his actual in-ring debut, which is against Brian Pillman Jr. Now, very interesting. Brian Pillman Jr. got no introduction. He got no entrance. He was already in the ring when Mil Muertes came to the ring. Now, before we get into this match, which is only 3 minutes, okay? It was only 3 minutes, but I want to stop here and say that Mil Muertes is a big guy, but he looked so much bigger in Lucha Underground. The effects of good production quality, when I'm talking like he was tanned and oiled up in Lucha Underground. Like here, he was a little bit pale. He was still, a big guy, but he felt more like a monster in Lucha Underground, right? Here, he kind of just felt like a big luchador, and it kind of, some of the luster had kind of gone off of it. But, that's the difference between TV and wrestling, right? That was big television production, Lucha Underground, versus him in a regular sort of lower budget wrestling promotion now. So they did a decent job here of getting over Mil Muertes, but I still think it was very conflicting. I just said it was interesting, but it was very conflicting. One, Pillman Jr. ran away from Mil Muertes a lot. I like that they did that. That makes sense. He powdered a lot. He's trying to escape. Really kind of putting over how scary Mil Muertes is. which is a good thing. Mil Muertes no-sold Pillman's offense. You know, Pillman would chop him in the chest. He basically no-sold it. But Mil Muertes' offense wasn't destructive enough. You know, like it felt like he was holding back a lot. Like he was hitting Pillman with some chops, but they weren't like hard, ridiculous chops. Like, you know, his finisher was an STO, which is essentially, you know, like the pay dirt, which is Shelton Benjamin's finish. It's kind of like that, except for he doesn't jump. He just kind of grabs you by the head and falls back. A little bit like, you know, the Sister Abigail, a little bit. And that was it, you know, and that was the match. The match was 3 minutes. Pillman got some offense in. I don't think he didn't knock Mil Muertes down. He got in some chops. He maybe put him in a headlock or something for a little bit. But mostly it was a showcase for Mil Muertes, but I don't think that they did enough. That's the thing. I think they fell short and make it seem like he was establishing him like a monster. Like, look, I get Pillman is leaving MLW. So that's why they kind of took away his entrance and all that type of stuff, because he's leaving. And I think this is probably his last tapings. And so it made sense. But I feel like they should have put Mil Muertes over even stronger. You know, just had, you know, I'm okay with him no-selling Pillman's offense and stuff like that, but I wanted more viciousness from Mil Muertes. Especially since the way they're putting him over on commentary is that he's the scariest guy of all time and that he's like the super killer. It's like, yeah, that's cool. I like that. But show me the super killer, right? Show me him doing like horrible things to this guy. But he just kind of wrestled the match kind of normal. He did some power moves, but it was forgettable. It's kind of a 3-minute throwaway where it didn't feel like a 3-minute showcase. You get what I'm saying? So, and his finisher is kind of weak for a monster heel. Now, the storyline going into this thing is that Mil Muertes is the bodyguard for Salina De La Renta now, because she owes some very dangerous people some money. And we find out later that Promociones Dorado, which is her organization, was bought from underneath her by Azteca Underground Incorporated. And of course, it's part of the storyline, obviously. And that these are supposedly the people, I guess, that Salina De La Renta owes money to. But so they're bringing in Lucha Underground. They're just calling it Azteca Underground. They're just bringing it into MLW. Now, before we get into the rest of the show, let's stop and talk about this right here, because the lore of Lucha Underground is very interesting, okay? But you're going to have a lot of pieces missing. Is it possible that we're going to bring in Dario Cueto, or Dario Cueto's father, or whatever, to be the man that Salina De La Renta owes money to? I think that would be dope. That would be a dope use of that lore. But a lot of the people who were in Lucha Underground are not available. You know, I think Jake Hager was one of the last guys there. Stu Bennett, who is Wade Barrett, he was one of the last people there. A lot of the wrestlers are gone. You know, you're not going to have access to Matanza, who is Jeff Cobb. You're not going to have access to a lot of people. So I don't know what are they really going to do to how are they going to change it and make it make sense in MLW. And of course, this is an MLW again, like, you know, in their early days they were subsumed with ECW, where it was MLW Underground and they were basically just ECW ripoff. Are they going to start moving towards now kind of ripping off Lucha Underground? Maybe. But I like the idea because, you know, Salina De La Renta is very good. She's only like 23. But they do a lot of stuff with her to make her interesting. Like, they're also doing this feud with Alicia Atut, who is an interviewer with MLW. And they've kind of been beefing online with Salina just basically being a nutcase. and which is essentially her character anyway. So a lot of people think that that's real. I don't know if it's real or not. But it was mentioned by the actual MLW Twitter account. So it's probably storyline. But it was interesting. Like, they're doing a lot of interesting stuff with Salina De La Renta. You know, she's got 4 or 5 things going on. She's doing the thing with Alicia Atut. Her company just got bought by Azteca Underground Jr. Azteca Underground Jr. Azteca Underground Incorporated. She's just brought in Mil Muertes, and now she's the manager of the tag team champions as well. So she's got 4 different storylines going on, just her. And that's very interesting. And a lot of this stuff's probably going to end up tying together at some point. But we'll get into her team winning the tag team championships in a minute. So Richard Holiday is upset that he is the Caribbean champion and not being taken seriously. Now he's still feuding with Savio Vega, which is bizarre. It's also weird that Richard Holiday is a heel and his best friend is Hammerstone, who is a babyface, which is really strange. So then we get this piece here of Filthy Tom Lawler, who is the referee for tonight's tag team championship match, because he's been feuding long term with the Von Erichs. And he was upset that ACH gets a title shot before him because he beat ACH in the Opera Cup tournament, and then he won the Opera Cup tournament. And I was kind of like, okay, that's a legit, but that sounds like something a heel would complain about. And then they did the top 10. And in the top 10, ACH was number 9, and Tom Lawler was number 2. So then you kind of say, well, damn, yeah, that's a pretty big jump. Like, like, if you're going to have a top 10 list, how about going in order? But, I guess you could do that whole, you could fight anybody in the top 10 kind of thing. But why number 9? Why we falling off so far? Why we going down so far? But I guess it's because ACH doesn't have a storyline. They got to have him do something. So I'm gonna give him a pass on this one, because most everybody else that's in the top 10 is either involved in a storyline or they are not interesting. Even though ACH kind of fits that also, as far as not being interesting enough to. There's no real belief that ACH is going to beat Jacob Fatu. It really doesn't make any sense to even believe that was going to happen. So I guess go ahead and get it out of the way and knock him out of the top 10 and replace him with somebody else. So whatever. So the next promo was from Myron Reed and Jordan Oliver, who are still angry at Contra because Contra attacked them after Myron Reed lost his title to Leo Rush. And Jordan Oliver seems to be the only one who still cares about Cotto Brazil, who left MLW, I guess, and according to the storyline, was injured and had to retire due to Contra attacking him. And so now they're both mad at Contra for different reasons. Myron Reed is mad because Contra has ripped up his vest, and Jordan Oliver has taken personally the retirement of Cotto Brazil. So now they're gonna band together, 2 cruiserweights to fight Contra, and I'm guessing Daivari is gonna be a member of Contra now. So that's gonna be cool. These guys are officially baby faces now. Jordan Oliver is literally a straw man. He is a skinny guy. Myron Reed is also a very skinny guy. But they can wrestle, hopefully they wrestle a more realistic style, because all of the Contra dudes are pretty big. So it's going to be interesting to see how they work, and you have that natural size thing and the natural babyface heel thing. So it ought to be pretty interesting. So the main event was Los Parks, LA Park, and El Hijo de LA Park versus the Von Erichs for the MLW tag team titles, and Filthy Tom Lawler was the referee. So Los Parks essentially did whatever they wanted because they worked the heel referee thing the way that you're supposed to. I don't know if the match was announced as being no disqualifications, but there was no way that Tom Lawler was going to disqualify anybody, was going to disqualify Los Parks for their cheating. And they cheated a lot in this match, which actually protected the Von Erichs, because the Von Erichs was essentially fighting from behind. They had, there's Salina's out there. 50 Tom Lawler is against them. There's 3 members of Los Parks. You even had LA Park Jr. interfere at one point in this match. So there was a lot of stuff stacked against the Von Erichs that to protect them in losing this match. And then they also just lost to a small package. They didn't get dominated and crushed. They hung in there. They fought from underneath. Now, I would have liked for them to have done something slick, like tried to take Tom Lawler out, which I think probably would have been, if you have a heel referee and there's no disqualification or something like that, just drop him. Hit him in a DDT or something, and then try to get him replaced with a different ref. I'm kind of weirded out they didn't try that. The guy is counting slow on purpose. He's having muscle spasms and anything to prevent from trying to be fair in any way. There was not even a hint at fairness. usually the heel referees, or in WWE sometimes I should say, the heel referees tries to hint at being fair, and then they just start becoming unfair. Tom Lawler was unfair from the beginning, so it was like no question of whose side he was on. So obviously the babyface is lost, and it was fine. So Salina is now the manager of the tag team champions, and she has gone through all these other storyline elements. And this episode was pretty decent. I watched this episode mainly to see Muertes, and I kind of left like, okay, that's it. It's kind of weird. It didn't feel impactful enough. It didn't feel big. It didn't feel weighty. It didn't feel important. It just kind of felt like he was another wrestler who was brought in, and they need to change that, make him feel like a bigger deal. But I'm also very interested in where they're going with a whole Promociones Dorado getting bought from her. And are they going to introduce more elements of Lucha Underground via this Azteca Underground Incorporated, which I think that they will, So it ought to be pretty fun, So MLW is heating up. They're introducing new things every week. They're building storylines slowly. They're letting things breathe. They're getting over people. They're not doing 50 now. They have matches that, these matches are being thrown out. But, like the low-key match didn't need to happen because he just knocked that guy out. But at least they're getting somebody over, right? Somebody comes in, he gets over, boom, blink of an eye, get him over. He talks a little bit, he moves on. Then when Muertes came in, he wrestled a match. He dominated the match, but it wasn't as impactful, as strong as it should have been. But he won the match and got out of there, got over and got out. And so there was only, a one-match show where it was Los Parks versus Divine Erics. And even that match was incredibly one-sided, where you had the heels essentially not dominating, because Divine Erics did do a good job of fighting them back. But there were so many heels to be involved that they were just simply outnumbered. So it makes sense, but these shows are making sense, and they're building new stuff every week. So it's actually an intriguing watch, and the show is only 40 minutes. So you could watch it, if you got a 1 hour lunch break, you could just watch it and it's fine. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.